Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Silhouette Sunday video. Today I'm going to be working on some easy kind of just hello or thank you cards, and I have a file already opened up on my digital mat, and it's from the Silhouette store. And if you are interested in this particular file, it's called the Variety Heart Card, and it's by Lonnie Stevens. So if you just type Variety Heart Card in the search bar, this should come right up. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And for this thank you card, I'm going to be testing out the dual blade features of the new Cameo 3. If you haven't heard, the new Silhouette Cameo 3 has been released, and it does have the dual carriage like the Curio had. So you can send multiple jobs to the machine and cut and write at the same time. Now, because I'm going to be doing cut by line color in this particular video, it's going to be a little longer than most typical Silhouette Sunday videos are. So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking and get started. So I have my design here, and I've already ungrouped it. And you ungroup by selecting everything, right clicking, and then going to ungroup. And that's just so that you can manipulate each piece individually. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these upper components and this panel here, because all I want is the actual card base. And I'm also going to delete the score line, because I actually prefer to physically score the card myself. So now that I have the part that I plan on working with here, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so this is a little easier to see. Now I want my greeting here and my hearts to be up here. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on this shape again, and I'm going to click ungroup so that I can get these hearts separate. Now nothing happened here, so I'm going to go ahead and click right click again and then go to release compound path. So now each of these hearts can be manipulated on their own. So I want to write hello or thank you right underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and drag my mouse and select all of these hearts, and I'm going to move them up. Now you can do this with your arrow keys, or you can use your mouse to do so. I'm going to use my arrow keys so that way I know it goes straight up. And now I have room to write my greeting. Now you could get into offsetting these hearts and then, doing shapes or text around them, but for the sake of keeping this short and sweet, and because it's just a test cut, I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to type a greeting. So for the bottom of this card, I'm going to type thank you. And I want it to write in pen, and there are very few fonts that give you a single line. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this and change this font to Reagan Sketch, because I know Reagan Sketch is one of those fonts that it writes on top of itself so it looks like a single line. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over, and it's quite large, so I'm going to go ahead and shrink it down as well. Now this looks pretty centered, but to really make sure it actually is, I'm going to go ahead and draw a box around those hearts again. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit group so that they move as one unit. And then I'm also going to press the shift key on my keyboard and select this outer rectangle, right click and hit group as well. That way I know everything's going to stay in alignment when I start messing with just this. Now, if you wanted to, you could use the align center option if it's really important to you that this be perfectly centered, but it's not that important to me. So in order to get the two images to cut using the two different tools, so to get the thank you to cut in the pen and then to write in the pen and then to get the hearts to cut, I need to change the line colors. So I'm going to go ahead and select the thank you, and I'm going to change the line color here to this dark blue color, and it can really be any color because you're going to change this in the cut settings. So now I have my thank you in blue and my regular cut line for the rest of it, which is going to be the blade, and I'm ready to send this to the silhouette. But before I do, I need to go ahead and adjust my cut settings. Now typically you would leave this as is, but because I actually need two tools to work together because I'm using a Cameo 3, I'm going to go ahead and click on the advanced option here, and I'm going to select by line color, and you can see that both line colors are defaulting to tool 1, which is the red one on the left. What I'm going to do is click the circle on the right here because I actually want what's in blue to be the right tool. And the right tool that's loaded right now is my actual pen that I'm going to use to write. So I'm going to tell the Silhouette that this tool right here is a pen. And I don't actually have a sketch pen loaded. I have um, a pen adapter with an ink pen in it, but that's the best description I can give. And then I'm also going to tell it that this is just cardstock. And then I'm going to go through the same process for the tool that's on the left, which has my actual blade. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. I'm going to tell it that again, that it's cardstock. And I'm also going to change this to the automatic blade because I actually do have an auto blade installed. So it will automatically switch on its own to this preset settings, which is a 3. Now I have mixed feelings about the auto blade, and that's because I know what will cut on what setting without bothering with the menus, but that's a topic I'll get into in another video exclusively about the test blade. So now that I have my settings all corrected, where my blue is going to be the pen, which is the right tool on the dual housing carriage, and the red is set to cut, which is the auto blade, I'm going to go ahead and send this to the Silhouette. Here's my card panel that's been cut out and written on. I always have mixed results with the pens that I use. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of pens that give you a really fine line, and there's also not a lot of pens that won't leave the little dots at the end where the pen stops. Now, I used a felt style pen when I wrote this out because it was giving the best results at the time, but you can see there's a couple little random dots where the pen actually stopped and lifted up. And this is something that just takes a little bit of testing out to see what works for you. I actually had a pen that worked really well and it ran out of ink, and I don't even know what brand it was. I think it might have been a pen just randomly from a dollar store or something. So anyways, again, something else for another video. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this in half. Now you could leave the score mark in Silhouette Studio if that is your preference. I've mentioned this probably 100 times in the past. I don't really like the score marks that are the little hatch cut lines. But anywho, so I'm going to go ahead and just to give something behind these hearts, I'm just going to add this scrap of pattern paper that's from the Crate Paper DIY shop paper pad. And I think this is actually the first DIY shop. I could be wrong, but this is, it's super old. So I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of liquid glue to attach this in the back. Inside my card is going to be naked, of course, and you'll be able to see this little white panel. Of course, you could always go, if that really bothers you, and cut a piece of paper to cover it or whatever, but it doesn't particularly bother me for these little itty bitty notes or note cards. So that is what the final product looks like, and that is how you get or use the 2 cut heads in the new Silhouette Cameo 3. And as always, guys, if you have any questions, you can leave them for me in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching.